Hello, everyone. Welcome back to UpTimeProductions. I'm Adam, host and the producer of the show. I'm back with Dominic, co-host and
Hello.
co-producer. Try that again.
Hello.
Yes.
It's wonderful to see you all.
You can't see them, Dom.
Not yet.
What is that supposed to mean?
Anyway,
Anyway,
today
well,
we have
welcome
a
back to Marvel versus DC. Now, as you can tell, we've actually got some pictures up on the video, so this is an actual YouTube video instead of just a black screen with us talking. I've also fixed the audio, hopefully, for Dominic and his talking very loudly. But before we get too started, Dom, you want to tell him what Marvel versus DC the show is about?
while we pit two characters against each other and see who is the best in their respective aspects, not who would win in a fist fight or any other kind of fight.
All right. Well, with that said, today we've got a special little pairing for you. Last week, by the way, we did Loki versus the Riddler. Go ahead and go to the description for the link to that video, or should I say audio. That was definitely an interesting conversation. We learned some things about both these characters that we didn't know till last week. So with that said, this week we've got Doctor Strange versus Doctor Fate. Now, Doctor Strange obviously has a new movie out, and a lot of people know about him now. However, a lot of people probably don't know his actual origin story or anything about the comics. And Doctor Fate, well, I didn't hear of him until Dominic actually suggested Doctor Fate versus Doctor Strange.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I should be. Then again, I am advocating for Marvel, so there is
That's
that.
true. That's square.
There is that indeed. um. So with that said, I'm going to transition to an actual video. This is a video game that we play, so we can actually talk about this, and we're going to go ahead and get started with some actual backstory on Doctor
Strange.
All right. All right. So I'll start off with Doctor Strange and a little bit on his his backstory. Now, Doctor Strange was actually not created as a side character like um, last week's villains. He was created in the he was actually created in his own comic book called Strange Tales, issue 110. Strange Tales, on the other hand, was a comic book that was made to be more like more like kind of a side comic, kind of side story type thing. But Doctor Strange was to be to be part of that. After that, he was actually in the Avengers until he left in the New Avengers of Annual 2000 or issue 2, which was issued in 2008. So actually, until just recently, he was part of the Avengers and then left.
Bad blood there between him and the Avengers.
I wouldn't say bad blood. I'd say Iron Man and Captain America have bad blood. I'd say Doctor Strange and the Avengers more have a disagreement.
Okay.
Yeah. As for a backstory, a lot of this was covered in the movie adaptation of Doctor Strange, played by is it Benedict Cumberbatch? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's right. Strange was a brain surgeon who was, of course, in a terrible accident that removed any and all use of his hands. And after this incident, he went searching for a way to heal his hands, and what he found was what he didn't know then: the Sorcerer Supreme. Now, the Sorcerer Supreme, of course, as told and mentioned by the name, is a sorcerer who taught him how to heal his hands through the use of magic. So, in doing so, later on, Strange was able to use multiple different types of magical items and magic books and whatnot to become himself Sorcerer Supreme after the original Sorcerer Supreme died off, shall I say. Yeah, so, other than that, he actually went by a lot of different aliases throughout his comic history, other than Doctor Strange. He also went, of course, by Stephen Strange, his actual name, his middle name, Vincent Strange, and Captain Universe.
Universe.
Yes, Captain Universe. He actually went by Captain Universe for a couple of issues, and I believe it was in most of the issues where he was with the Avengers. Other than that, he is also known as one of the most powerful sorcerers in all the dimensions. And as we talked about last week, Dominic, Loki is considered the most powerful. So this would be an interesting fight, fist to fist, shall I say, between Loki and Doctor Strange, if that ever happens.
And it could.
And yes, and it very, very well could. So, as I mentioned before, he uses magic, and to boost his magic, he actually uses a lot of magical items. And some of these items include the Eye of Agamotto, the Cloak of Levitation, the Orb of Agamotto, and an entire library of mystic tombs or magical books. And I'll get into a little bit of what those do and what he uses them for, and how powerful he becomes from them when we get to, of course, his powers. Other than that, some story arcs that he's actually gone through. Of course, Doctor Strange, the movie adaptation, went through the Dormammu thing, where he actually learned how to manipulate time and use that to his advantage against Dormammu. Another story arc, though, one that I found more interesting, was when Doctor Strange was facing a demon race called the Undying Ones, and was led by, of course, their leader was named the Nameless One. So what happened was the Undying Ones wanted, of course, to take over the Earth, and the Avengers and whatnot were actually struggling with handling them. Strange, on the other hand, he had struggles, but he was actually dealing with them very well. And in fact, he, using his magic and magical items, manipulated Namor the Submariner, which I believe is a machine, and the Hulk himself into aiding him. So, yeah, so he magically forced the Hulk to do his bidding, basically, something that Loki was never able to do. With the Undying Ones defeated after that, Strange thought that the Earth dimension was sealed from mystic incursion. So he was thinking about pausing the whole hero thing and going back to his medical workplace. The thing that made him actually do this was the fact that he was able to exploit the Hulk himself using his magic. So he abandoned his mystic duties and became a medical consultant, something that he thought was beneath him, because he went from brain surgeon to medical consultant. So those two completely different things on a long scale. But as far as that, Strange has had a heck of a time dealing with both the Avengers, and especially now that the Avengers are fighting in both comic world and movie world now, Doctor Strange never really picks a side. And in fact, something we could touch on maybe in another part of this series is that Spider-Man is not actually on one side either. So he flip-flops between what he believes is right and what he's thinking is right at the time, and what is actually going on between the scandal between Iron Man and, of course, Captain America. who each have their specific sides. So the fact that he actually left on his own the Avengers in 2008 tells us a lot about his actual characteristics. I mean, he's selfless, and he knows when he's becoming too powerful or what power to use. Obviously, looking at the Undying One's arc, how he abandoned his mystic duties just because he was able to exploit the Hulk with his magic. So he has a lot of good characteristics, and of course this week we're going good guy versus good guy here, but so that's kind of a given, good characteristics and whatnot.
Right.
But Doctor Strange definitely is one of the more powerful beings in the Marvel universe, dare I say. But yeah, with that said, I think it's a go for you, Dominic, and good old Doctor Fate there.
Yeah, Doctor Fate. This is his origin story. So let's all listen. Okay. In 1928, Kent Nielsen was born to Celeste. I don't know how to pronounce that name, so I'm just calling her Celeste. Celeste Nelson, a spiritualist, and Seven Nelson, which was his dad, an archaeologist. So his dad is an archaeologist, and his mom's a spiritualist. I don't know.
Okay, that's an interesting mix.
Yeah. So sometime after his birth, his mother disappeared and died. No one knows why. She just dropped off the face of the earth, and then one day they found her and she was dead.
Oh, perfect. That
Yeah.
sounds like a great afternoon.
It does. In 1940, while on an archaeological dig in Mesopotamia, Mr. Nielsen, along with his 12-year-old son Kent, stumbled upon a temple belonging to Naboo. The natives were scared to even enter the temple and avoided it at all costs because they know what's going on. I'm sure they know what's going on. But that did not scare Mr. Nelson or his son. He did not believe in any type of magic whatsoever. Nothing magical he believed in. He believed in facts only.
Okay.
Yep. Anyway, while him and Kent were in the temple, Kent stumbled on a sarcophagus containing the body of Naboo the Wise. So
is Naboo some sort of god or something?
Yeah, Naboo's a god, but just listen to the story. I'm kidding. Anyway, Kent decided to pull the lever that would wake Naboo. When Naboo awoke, a poisonous gas filled the temple, killing Mr. Nelson but leaving Kent unharmed. Some say Mr. Nielsen only died because he didn't believe in magic. But that's not proven, so that's just a thing that natives say. So anyway, Naboo wanted to train Kent as his apprentice, but Kent did not want any powers or to become Naboo's apprentice. All he wanted was his father back. So Naboo, being the god he was, erased all memories of his dad.
Okay. Interesting.
From Kent's mind. Yeah. So now all he remembers is his mother dying.
Oh.
He doesn't remember talking.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
In the course of 1 week, Naboo transformed Kent into a fully grown man and taught him the mystical arts. The last wish of Naboo was for Kent to unleash all his power on him, but Kent could not harm his master, for he'd grown too attached to Naboo. So that Kent basically, since he didn't have a father figure, or he didn't remember he had a father figure, he basically made Naboo his father figure and learned everything from him, every mystical art.
Interesting.
Naboo then brought back Kent's memories of his old father, and Kent attacked Naboo with a fit of rage, because that's the human response to finding out that your dad wasn't actually missing. He was actually in your life, but killed by your master and then erased from your mind.
Right. Killed by the father figure that you thought you didn't have.
Yep. During that time, Naboo revealed his true origins to Kent. He was really a Lord of Order. And then he explained the circumstances of Mr. Nielsen's death and the never-ending battle between order and chaos. As a parting gift, Naboo entrusted Kent with a golden helmet and an amulet and told him that those two things would grant him all the powers that he wanted to possess.
Okay.
Yeah. So, his first adventure as Dr. Fate was when he rescued Inza Kramer from Rotan, an evil sorceress. The two found love and soon married. Together they settled in an invisible tower that Kent had constructed with his powers, and he called it the Tower of Fate in Salem, Massachusetts.
Huh. All right.
Yeah. So from this sanctum he embarks out fighting crime and supernatural evils as the new hero, Dr. Fate. So
Yeah,
was
I'll
just
flash Dr. Fate on the screen one more time, just so you can get a good look at him here. Nice gold and blue.
yeah. That helmet that he's wearing is the helmet that Naboo gave him.
Okay.
And so
And then is the amulet kind of in the middle?
yeah,
The center part of his cape thing?
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah. In 1941, Kent would meet the Spectre, and together they would combine forces to destroy a military gateway to the Netherworld. So the Spectre is basically just another very powerful sorcerer.
Okay.
Okay. So that was Kent's first encounter with a hero of his time, because he's still a little boy, technically. He just looks like a man.
Oh, it's kind of like
No.
a Shazam thing going on
Yeah,
here.
kind of like a Shazam thing. He ages a lot slower than anyone else would. Anyway, 2 years later, he would go on to help to found and serve with the JSA, which is the Justice Society of America, which is a precursor to, obviously, the Justice League.
Was there like heroes in this JSA here?
There was Dr. Fate and Flash, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, and Aquaman.
Oh, okay. So this is kind of around the time where Batman and Superman were still at odds.
Yes, they were. They did not want any part of it. They preferred to work alone during this time.
All right. Interesting.
Anyway, in 1942, he began to feel the helmet take control of him when he wears it, and gives it up for a half-face vision. So basically, the helmet, every time he puts it on, takes control of him. So it's really not him fighting; it's the helmet.
So, and therefore Naboo.
Therefore, Naboo. So he essentially makes the helmet a lot weaker by using half-face vision, which only allows half of the helmet's power to work. So he can control Naboo.
Interesting.
Yeah. So while operating this helmet, he loses most of his magic abilities. When he lowered the abilities of the helmet, he lost most of his abilities, which is kind of sad.
That is kind of sad.
Anyway, he is restricted to the powers that his body that he had trained from Naboo. Anyways, so basically super strength and vulnerability, the ability to levitate other objects and himself. Basically a Superman but with magic. And he can see things others can't, and he can change things. He essentially, if you wanted to explain Dr. Fate in the most simple way, he is
summed up version.
Yeah, summed up. He is the hero for every dimension. Okay. Because he can change things to his will. He's not supposed to, He's supposed
He's
to
not
let things.
supposed to, but he can.
And he does. He does many times.
All
He
right.
saved. He saved Superman once from his fate. In his fate, because he can see the fate. So
So, oh, I get it, Doctor Fate.
Doctor Fate, because he can see the fate.
All
Or
right.
maybe.
Well, is that all he has to him as far as backstory?
Well, then he went on in 1987 to found the Justice League,
Oh, he
and
founded the Justice League.
he did after the JSA disbanded. He founded the Justice League.
Oh, see, I always thought it was Batman who founded the Justice League.
He had Batman's help.
Huh.
Yeah, he had
The
Black
new
Canary.
Justice League movie's got it all wrong, and it hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah. Then they had he had Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, Batman, Martian Manhunter, Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, Captain
Wow.
Marvel,
All
aka
right.
Shazam, and all of the others. He told them to come together
All right.
because he his main purpose is to serve the gods of order.
Right.
And what's more orderly than justice? So that's
Right.
why they told him to found the Justice League.
All right. I guess that makes actually a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, Naboo needed help searching for a new protege, so Dr. Fate eventually gave up. Dr. Fate now she keeps changing because Kent doesn't want to wear the helmet, but he also doesn't want other people to wear it, so it's kind of a weird thing. Like sometimes he'll wear it, sometimes he'll let someone else wear it.
right, kind of like a love-hate relationship.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Dr. Fate.
All right then. Well, with that said, I think it's safe to say we can move on to the powers and whatnot section and whatnot of our respective supers.
Yep.
All right. Well, heading back over to Doctor Strange here. Doctor Strange has a plethora of powers, and as I said before, he definitely has a lot up his sleeve per se.
Okay.
So the Sorcerer Supreme, like Dr. Fate, taught Doctor Strange how to use magic. So the magic within him, and draw the power from inside his body. So
Okay.
so he's already powerful on that in that respect, but he actually gains a lot, and I mean a lot of power when it comes to other powers that are with entities, powers that
Okay.
are entity enabled. So just kind of a small summary before I get into detail. He can draw power from the mystic entities. He can manipulate the universe's ambient magical energy, which means that he can draw power from the universe itself, or in this case, the multiverse.
Okay.
As for Strange's, inner magic, he can manipulate time. He can travel between dimensions. He can manipulate matter. He can time travel instead of just manipulating it. But it is known that Doctor Strange's full abilities are unknown because he hasn't actually tapped into everything he can do.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's got a plethora of
Almost
power.
on power because we haven't even seen his full power yet.
Yes, so we can't we don't know the full ability he actually has. So
Wow.
it's interesting that way. As for the mystical items, that I listed above, such as the Eye of Agamotto, the Cloak of Levitation, the Orb of Agamotto, the huge library of magic books, all of them do certain things. So when Doctor Strange wears the Eye of Agamotto, the Eye of Agamotto is an amulet which can radiate light, pierce illusions, probe minds, open extra-dimensional portals, perform other feats and whatnot. So this is where I will jump in and kind of cut in and say that the movie had it wrong with the Eye of Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto in the Doctor Strange movie adaptation uses the eye as the time manipulation device, when in reality it actually is supposed to open extra-dimensional portals,
Like a dimension hopper.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And a couple other things, but its main feature is extra dimensional portals. Um, the next
Okay.
thing he uses is the cloak of levitation, and that's what gives him his signature red cape. I'll just transition this picture here real quick. This is what gives him his signature red cape here, is that it's the cloak of levitation, and obviously from the name it enables him to levitate or even fly actually, without using his own energy, his own magic. Which is
Hmm.
another thing that I want to point out, is that Doctor Strange can use his own magic to fly. He doesn't have to, but because he has the cloak of levitation, but he still can. So with or without the cloak, he can fly.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, so yes, very very interesting things. Um, Notice also that there's two entities called Agamotto. There's the Eye of Agamotto, and then there's the Orb of Agamotto. And this is where the movie kind of fails in its respective aspect. The Orb of Agamotto is the entity where which actually he can observe events virtually anywhere in the multiverse. So think of it like Doctor Fate's Fate Sight, but in real time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why it's, from what I understand, the Eye of Agamotto and Orb of Agamotto can be merged together, to become, I believe it's called the Amulet of Agamotto. I'm not completely sure on that one, so I'm not going to state anything as fact. Someone can fact check me um, on that.
Okay.
As for his library of magic books, there are two that I kind of want to talk about. The first book is, there's actually one really, but it's called the Vishanti and the Darkhold, um, which actually, if read and carried around to read, can serve as weapons, power sources, powered weapons in their own right. So, which means he can read from these books and have like a bow or a battle axe made out of pure mystic energy.
Hmm.
If I transition to this picture once more, you could actually see kind of a little bit what I'm talking about. This blue ray between his hands. Um, that's actually one of the magic books, because the one thing that the movie did get right, one of the things I should say that the movie did get spot on, was the gold accents with the magic. That's your inner magic. As for magic entities, they differ in color. So this blue you see on this picture, that's actually from one of the mystic tombs or the magic books. And so there's a difference between there. As for a weakness, though, it's really two things. I have two things to say about it. One, again, we don't know his full range of power, um, so we can't really have a full range of weaknesses. But his most prominent weakness is losing his artifacts. And with the loss of those artifacts, he's almost powerless. Remember, he can still summon magic from within him. Um, but without his magical entities, he actually can't produce as much magic, nor produce magic with the same amount of power um, as he could with them. Now, remember, I did list some of the magic that he can use without the entities, such as time traveling, manipulating time, traveling in between dimensions, um, manipulating matter to his will. But he does a lot of that stuff because he has a lot of the mystic tombs and magic books and mystical artifacts to help him, so he doesn't run out of energy.
Okay.
And that's his biggest weakness, is that without those artifacts, he has to use his energy to concentrate power to the different spells he wants to use. That's his largest, if not his only weakness.
Okay.
For example, I was talking about how the cloak of levitation obviously lets him fly around without using without spending any of his magical energy. He can still
Okay.
fly around without it, but he has to use energy. So imagine the Doctor Strange movie where he had to use a lot of energy to get from place to place. And then imagine him fighting with a very large drop in pure energy.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's where I'm getting with this. I'll go to this picture one more time. Doctor Strange is an amazing character. He's got a lot of powers, and I would go as far to say that he is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, and the second most powerful sorcerer in the Marvel Universe. I would not, however, go as far to say that Doctor Strange uh, is the most powerful character in the Marvel Universe. Um, Obviously, because of his large weakness. So, with that said, I think that's kind of the full spectrum between Doctor Strange and between Doctor Strange's powers and his weaknesses. So I'm interested to hear Doctor Fate's though, because again, Doctor Fate is not a very largely known character as far as DC goes, and I think he's only had
Yeah.
a
No,
TV show adaptation back in the days of like the Batman TV show.
no, even before that, I think.
Even before that, okay, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I'll give this to Dominic to go over the strengths and weaknesses of Doctor Fate.
Okay, so well, I'm gonna start off with his weaknesses first.
It's because
I
you're
like to
weird,
get to that
Dominic.
first because I am different. Okay, so his Doctor Fate is basically a god. Without his helmet, though, he has no link to Naboo, and without his link to Naboo, he's still powerful, but he becomes significantly less powerful.
Hmm.
So, in a fight between another sorcerer, like Wotan, who is a god of chaos, and you don't have the helmet of fate, you would lose. You would lose. Because without Naboo, Dr. Fate isn't as powerful as he should be.
Hmm. Which
Yeah.
which makes sense because Naboo is the god.
Yeah, Naboo is the puppeteer pulling on the strings. Dr. Fate is the puppet.
Hmm. Okay.
So so basically these are weaknesses for Dr. Fate because of Naboo. Like they play off each other.
That makes sense.
Like on the weaknesses I have Naboo himself has no physical appearance. He has no physical form in our world. He cannot help anyone without the helmet. So if the helmet were destroyed by either Wotan or some other villain, that's it for Naboo. He's done. He's over.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's kind of a sucky power if you ask me.
Yeah, well it's more of a curse really, the helmet. It was given to him by Wotan, which is I don't know why you would accept anything from your enemy.
Beats me, mate. Beats me.
Yeah. So I would say those are his two most outlandishly terrible weaknesses because those two things are very big. If someone were to take the helmet off of Doctor Fate mid battle, all you would be left with was Kent Nilsson and his magical powers, which he's the best sorcerer on Earth, but he's no match for a god of order.
Which, of course.
Yeah, of course. So I'm gonna move on to some of his powers, like his strengths. So he basically he's a ghost most of the time. He can't be hurt by any physical weapon other than magic.
That's
So
actually very interesting.
yeah, so I mean I don't know. I haven't. It doesn't pass through him, but it just doesn't hurt him.
Kind of like Vision.
Yeah, kind of like Vision. And reality manipulator. He can change reality. I mean, he can change anything that he wants. He is fate. He decides when something goes or when something stays or when something is okay and when something is not okay.
Right.
Right. So he also has all dark arts mastered, which basically just every dark art. I mean, there's nothing more to say than a god of order also knowing all of his enemies' moves is going to be pretty powerful.
Of course, of course.
Of course. He is stronger and faster. He's faster than the Flash and stronger than Superman.
That is very interesting because Flash has beat Superman himself in a race.
Exactly.
So that's
You
very
can't-
interesting.
In Fate's words, you can't outrun fate. Kind of a little play on words there.
Okay.
Uh,
The
can
Riddler
control
of the century right there.
control weather and time and any other element known to man.
Neither weather or time is an element.
I know. Leave me alone. Well, you can make the argument that never mind. We're not going to get into this right now.
Yeah, that'll be for my series. Which keep an
Yeah.
eye out for that, by the way. Hint, hint.
I'm waiting. Yeah, he's actually Dr. Fate. I should have mentioned this. Another one glaring weakness. You never know what side he's on.
Ah, because of Naboo.
Because of Naboo, because Naboo is the god of order, and when Brainiac came to Earth and was going to destroy the Earth, the Justice League asked for Dr. Fate's help, but Dr. Fate said no. Because their fate was to fight Brainiac alone, and they might have won or they might have lost. But it would have been easier if Dr. Fate just helped them.
Well, of course. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, basically, unlimited magic doesn't get tired even without the helmet on.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's it. That's it for his strengths and weaknesses.
All right. Well, with with that said, I think it's time for the part of this series where we switch characters, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I like about Dr. Fate, and then Dominic's going to take a little time to talk about what he likes about Doctor Strange, and then we'll come to a conclusion at the end of that. So, with that said, Dr. Fate. Now, from what I understand, Dr. Fate is basically one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful character in the DC universe. Stronger than Superman, faster than Flash. Can basically tell you your fate, if not control your fate. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. As far as his powers go, he seems to be a little bit stronger than Doctor Strange is. However, I did notice that you didn't mention any other like mystical artifacts other than the helmet. So,
That's right.
but again, you have to think in perspective. That helmet has what the the DC universe considers basically a god in there. So I mean, putting that in perspective, he would definitely stand a fisticuff fight with Doctor Strange. But again, that's not what we're doing here. We're saying who's the better, in this case, hero within their respective universes. I'd say as far if I had to give like a 1 to 10 scale on how good Dr. Fate is, I'd only give him, in complete honesty, like maybe a 4, because he does change sides based upon what he thinks your fate is. So if your fate is to die at the hands of, say Batman's fate is to die at the hands of Joker, then he's not going to help Batman. In fact, he may even help Joker, which I think is one of his another weakness, if weakness to him and every character in the DC universe that tries to partner with him.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that.
um, Other than that, though, he's actually very. I like the idea behind his story in general. Not only that, but his powers as well. Um, his powers have a different origin than I'm used to. It's something that that DC has touched on, yes, but DC has never. Or excuse me, Marvel has touched on, yes, but Marvel has never really kind of gone full blown. This kid has his parents killed and decided that he wanted to become friends with basically a god. Now, I will say that the fact that DC really loves to kill off their main character's parents is something that's a little different for me. But Dr. Fate would definitely be on very high on my list for my favorite DC superhero. That's for sure.
Hmm.
But Dominic, what do you have to say about good old Doctor Strange?
Why? Personally, I like how he has the books, the magic books. I forget what the name was.
They're technically called Mystic Tombs, but
Oh, okay. I like the Mystic Tomb books. I like that he just seems to have a natural gift with I mean, yes, he trains, but he just seems to slide right into their power and unlock it quite easily
right.
after the right push. Unlike Doctor Fate, who had to be trained for a year or two by a god, he just slides right in, gets his knowledge.
Right. Well,
And
that's the thing,
I also
though.
like how I like how I like his style of kind of, not in a bad way, of cutting corners. Like, yeah, he can levitate without the cape, but why do that when you have the cape of levitation at your side?
Right.
Yeah. I also like you said he can dimension hop.
Basically.
Yeah, that is really cool. Doctor Fate has only known to do that once, and it made him very weak afterwards. I
Mm.
don't think I don't think Doctor Strange has had any effect on himself from hopping dimensions.
Well, of course not. I mean,
Mhm.
I could go into detail about that in the next segment of this, but yeah.
Yeah. I also like that Doctor Strange is his own person. Doctor Fate, on the other hand, doesn't matter who's wearing the helmet as long as Naboo's pulling the strings.
Right.
Right. So that's what I like about Doctor Strange.
All right. Well, with that said, I think we can go into the final segment, and that is figuring out who wins this battle. Now, we said at the beginning of the show, or at least I hope we said at the beginning of the show, this is not a fist to fist battle. We're not seeing
Or magic.
we're not seeing who would win in a head-on fight between Doctor Strange and Doctor Fate. All it is we're seeing who is the better hero within their respective universes. And unfortunately for Dominic, I think Doctor Strange takes the cake with this one.
I agree 100%. Doctor Fate just switches sides too much to know if he's going to be a reliable help or not.
Right. Um, the idea behind Doctor Fate is really cool and all, uh, but I actually hinted to this while I was talking about him. Dominic only ever mentioned the helmet thing. He always uses his own energy, and the most powerful thing he's ever done, in this case, travel between dimensions, left him very, very weak magically, and physically, I think.
Yeah.
that's something that Doctor Strange does with or without his mystic entity, and very, very easily. Even in the movie adaptation of Doctor Strange, the Sling Ring, I think it's called, he used that so many times without even having too much of a difficult
Effect on.
time
Yeah.
to do anything with it. So Doctor Strange is definitely more powerful in that aspect. As for actual powers, I think he's more powerful as well. Um,
Hmm.
Doctor Fate, yes, he in the DC universe is considered a god, or at least half god, or something like that. Doctor Strange in
Yeah.
the Marvel universe is considered a powerful sorcerer and whatnot. But the difference between them is, like Dominic was saying, Doctor Strange has a lot more up his sleeves than Doctor Fate does. Doctor Strange has control over his what he wants to do, what he wants to be doing than Doctor Fate does, and that's what makes him not only a reliable ally but also a fearsome opponent.
Mm. And Doctor Fate has known to bail on the Justice League and his friends if he fears that Naboo is in danger.
Right.
Because without
So
that helmet, Naboo is
right,
nothing.
right. Um, I think in terms of weaknesses too, they both have a fairly even weakness spectrum. Without the helmet, Doctor Fate has no power. Without any of his magical entities, Doctor Strange really has no power. They both have magic inside them that they can still summon, but both of them are very weak. And as far as that goes, that's really no change. However, what I think is interesting and what I think gives Doctor Strange the upper hand in that aspect is that he again can control himself. He knows when to use his magic, how much power to put into that magic spell or whatnot, and how much to leave out. So he has reserves, something that Doctor Fate can't really do.
Mm.
But that's my take on it. What are your thoughts on why Doctor Strange would take the cake on this one?
Well, just like you said, Fate is nothing without the helm, and it's more likely that Fate would lose the helm than Doctor Strange lose his magical relics.
Right.
And Doctor Fate, again, he has a mind of his own, but he can't do anything with it. He can't. He's basically, lack of a better term, a servant for Naboo. He can't say no, Naboo. You can't do that. He follows his every order. Doctor Strange, on the other hand,
Right.
does what needs to be done to save people.
Right. And that's his main goal. Even when he took over the Hulk's mind, he stopped being Doctor Strange for a period of time because he was like, that's not good. That's not something I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the true qualifications for a superhero is being able to discern between good and wrong and being able to have a reliable source on that.
Right. And not just pick and choose when you're gonna interfere.
Right.
So
Well,
that's my take on why Doctor Strange would win.
all right. Well, this episode has definitely been interesting.
It has.
I think it tops. I think it for now. I mean, we only have two of these out, but for now, I think it even tops the Riddler versus Loki one.
Ooh. We all agree that the Riddler won that one, right?
I don't know if we all agree, but we agreed.
Yeah, okay.
So with that said, if you all want to know why we think the Riddler won versus Loki, the all-powerful sorcerer of Marvel, go check that video out. There will be a link in the description. Of course, you could go to the channel if you want to see, if you want to, not click the link in the description. But with that said, I think it's safe to say that this has been the second episode of Marvel versus DC, a show where we pin two characters up from the respective universes to see who is a better villain or hero in their respective universes. Today, we did
Next week.
Doctor Strange versus Doctor Fate. And we had a definitely had an interesting conversation. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it's something that I love doing. We love doing this for
true. It is interesting to us.
it is. And trust us, we're not the gurus of what we're talking about. More as we're just kind of we want to know more, so we go look it up. We pin the two characters together, and we find out more about these characters as we go along. So it's not like we knew this and we're showing off.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think it's safe to say that this is it. So thank you everyone for watching. I've been Adam, host and producer of the show,
I've been Dominic.
co-producer of the show.
That's exactly what I meant.
This has been Uptime Productions. Come tune in next week for the third episode of Marvel vs. DC. Leave some links. Excuse me. Leave some suggestions down in the comments for who you want us to think about doing, who you want us to pin together. Remember that it has to be one character from Marvel, one character from DC, and they either have to both be superheroes, both be villains, or both be very weird and very unknown. But with that said, thank you guys for watching. All of you have a good day.